Good morning, everyone. It is time for some blitz and rapid chess here on lichess.org. Our preferred place to play chess. Arsenal fan said he's flying like a Philadelphia Eagle. It's just a coincidence that I wore green today. I actually wanted the Patriots to win, but the Eagles were a favorite team by when I was a kid. So I really, if the Patriots are going to lose to someone, I don't mind it be the Eagles. It was funny though, in the build up to the Super Bowl, the Eagles had crushed the Vikings like before the Super Bowl, and so like all the Philadelphia players, they couldn't like get restaurant reservations and stuff like that in Minneapolis. They were really just dissed completely by like the whole area where the Super Bowl was being held. I thought that was kind of brutal, but they managed to win. Anyway, let's talk about chess, guys. We're gonna play some fast games between 5+3 and 7+3. I don't think there's too much going on in the chess world at the moment. I was checking out things to talk about, but there's no really big events going on. Kind of quiet now before the candidates tournaments will start in Berlin in I guess March. All right, so let's just go ahead and take some challenges here. Troll is as usual challenging me. I'll take the subscribers first, but this is an open day, so I'll play pretty much anyone. Troll in a roll 7+5. I've got a random challenge from a strong player there to 5-0, but I don't play 5-0 on the stream. Alright, if you want to challenge me, make it between 5+3 and 7+3 so I have time to talk about the game. Well, the FM is challenging me to the wrong time control. Ivan, I think I played a couple games before, but I don't want to play 5-0, so if he's watching, he can change the challenge to 5+3. It may just be an incidental challenge that he just happened to challenge me. And not realized, that I'm streaming and doing like 5+3 through 7+3, but it's fine, I'm not trying to duck him. He's a good player, but I'll play 5+3. 5-0 I reserve for when I can fully concentrate, and for a lot of people that's a fairly slow time control, but I'm obviously not specializing in super fast time controls here. Knight f3. I just played it because I always play knight f3 in normal chess anyway. That's an aggressive move. f7 looks a little bit weak, as in normal chess. Knight g5 though. I've done this recently against Troll a couple times where I lunged with my knights and not really like taking into consideration all of his defensive possibilities. I mean, here's a situation where, it reminds me a little of like the Joko piano or something. I mean, if you went knight g5, Black can obviously go knight h6, but he could also play rook e7. I mean, maybe that move isn't bad at all for Black. So you got to be really careful about misplacing your pieces on some kind of desperado type of attack. So Arsenal fan asking me a question about an upcoming tournament. He's talking about your English Chess Federation ratings, and he has a choice of open, under 155, and 125. Under 125. Well, I think, what is your official ECF rating, and what would you estimate your actual strength to be? In all seriousness, Arsenal fan, what would you say, like, if you could have like the most accurate rating in the world, what do you think your rating should be? I mean, if you think that you're strong for the under 125, obviously your rating must be under 125 if you're allowed to play in that. So, I don't know, that sounds kind of weak to me. I think it's really just a question of the under 155 or the open. This will be like your third tournament or something. All right. Just on the cuff, I would say you should play in the 155. But you probably can't hurt yourself by playing in the open section. You're gonna lose more than you win, And I'm just, you know, be prepared. If you play in the open, I guess, depending on how strong it is, I would assume that it'd be like lots of strong players in the open. But I guess it always depends how big a tournament it is. Maybe even the open's not that strong in some tournaments. Chess 960. Yeah, I don't mind playing maybe like 2 Chess 960 games. It's a good way to get warmed up. Chess 960 is good for your game. It's the only, I'm sure it's not the only useful variant, but I think it's the most useful variant. I think that Bug House and Crazy House kind of mess with your game a little bit. So your friends are like 1191. That's pretty strong. Your rating is R. I don't know, Arsenal fan. I mean, it's kind of close because you feel like strong for the under 150, but the open could be kind of brutal. Like, I wouldn't want you to get like beat down, you know, where you score like 1 out of 6 or something. How many rounds is it? I mean, it depends. If you're really able to handle like losing some games without it affecting you emotionally, I just don't want you to get discouraged if you have a bad result. You know, if you think you can not have that happen, then I would wholeheartedly say go ahead and play in the open. I guess I'm playing d4. I kind of wanted to play d4 last move, like a Scotch. I don't really play the Scotch though, so it seems kind of weird. His queen on h8, obviously mine is messed up too, but he can try to get it out through this diagonal g8 a2. It's 5 rounds. I haven't got a lot of experience losing so far, and you haven't handled it very well when I've lost. I just thought it would be more of a gradual thing if you played the under 150, but kind of work your way up. But I don't think it's gonna like end your life if you have, you know, a few losses in the open section. It's not gonna scar you for life, basically. All right, let's get this knight in the game. I'm kind of liking that. Even thinking about like b3 and bishop b2, although that sort of kills it, doesn't it? The f6 pawn. I mean, I'm just thinking about the queen coming down here to g8, and I'm very prophylactic defensive thinking in many ways. I try to think defensively first and offensively second when I'm approaching a position. Safety first. I'm an aggressive player, but I'm kind of like a controlled aggressive player. I mean, the biggest mistake you can make in poker and chess is to like not think about what your opponent is trying to do, you know, and I try to make that my first priority. I know Troll isn't really thinking about anything. He just plays on intuition. But nevertheless, he hits on some good ideas sometimes. The most sensible way of approaching it too. That's what your friends say. Well, I mean, I can only like, you know, really think about the way I approached it. I was much younger, but that's not really relevant. I mean, I was a very gradual improving player, so, and it worked for me. So, you know, I worked my way up from like 1300 to 2200 in the course of like 4 or 5 years, very gradually. Okay, knight h6. It's tempting to take that knight, and it is threatening to come down on g4 and f2. But it's a big concession to give up my dark squared bishop. I just don't think it's really worth it. I guess worst case scenario, I can play h3 and he's going to have to put the knight on f7. I was considering that he could also play like something crazy. So c5 and d5, trying to like overrun the center. I could also just develop quickly. Bishop takes h6 and castles. I mean, it's probably not bad. Take the knight and play knight c4. Not sure what you meant by c4. You mean f5. You're just looking dyslexically at the board. Alright. There's some dark squares he's got very good control of here. That's going to be hard to overcome, I guess. That's his strong point. Something about that bothers me. If I put my bishop on f4, he's playing like knight e5, and it's hard to get rid of him. In retrospect, I probably should have taken on h6. It's hard for me to play bishop takes h6. I don't, normally like to do that. If I play bishop f4, he has knight e5, for example, and it's just like, how am I going to shake that knight loose ever? At least if I don't play bishop f4, I can take it. So this is pretty awkward. Knight b5, and then regrouping my knight back to c3. Looks strange too. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't like what I'm doing in this game. Just don't seem to have a clear plan. If I play bishop f4, I'm just helping him play knight e5 effectively. I mean, it's still not that bad for me, but I'm really kind of helping him to improve all of his pieces. I'm just going to try to do this in castle. He has knight e5, knight takes e5, pawn takes e5, bishop g5 check, bishop e7, takes, knight f5. And I have like nothing, or maybe a small space advantage. Castle's queenside. What else can I do? I can't play b3, I can't play bishop d2, bishop e3. Loses a pawn. So I think you should just play knight e5 here. And I guess I could play queen h2, kind of hoping that somehow that would benefit me, but I don't see it. What I could do, and it's a very long-winded plan, would be to play something like knight b5, on knight e5, knight b5, knight c3, then move my other knight to d4, and then slowly try to get his knight off of e5 with f4. But it's like a 7-move plan, and it's probably easy enough to stop with something like g5. Yeah, I was thinking about knight b5, but it's maybe knight b5, I guess I'm an idiot. I could have played last move, but let's just say he plays like rook a8, or even a6. I don't think his bishop on c8 is that big a prize. I'm wasting time. But knight b5 is a threat now. I mean, he has to play knight e5 here, or d6, or bishop d6, or something, He shouldn't be thinking this long. He has lots of good moves. I had a lot to think about. He doesn't. It's like d6, knight e5. That's it, No big deal. Even bishop d6 is possible, but I think it's wrong. He should just play d6 or knight e5. Black is fine. Slightly like less space, but knight b5, yeah, that was the only plan I have. h3 was a bad move. Bishop f4 was like the lesser of the evils, in my opinion. I should have just taken his knight on h6 and like castled or something, queenside. I was just kind of trying to keep the tension, and that's something you normally do when you have more space. My dark squared bishop is a strong piece. I didn't really want to trade it on h6. This looks weakening for black and unnecessary, but it does stop knight b5. I could play e5 actually, but I'm not developed at all. No tactics yet. My pieces look ominously placed, but except for my queen on h1, which is ominous for me. But I wanted to play queen h2 anyway. That was one of the reasons why I played. One of the reasons, obviously, why I played, you know, h3. If you wondered why I played h3, well, this is one of the reasons. That's what I just said. I like repeating myself. Oh. Wow, bishop d6 is pretty awkward for black. I get into these sort of stages where I start saying awkward all the time. Just like saying it. Bishop takes e5. This looks pretty good for me, though. I mean, he could be close to trouble here. Knight takes e5 is even possible. Because on pawn takes, I have... I guess I like bishop takes better. Because on pawn takes, I have knight f5, and I thought that's good for me. You know, this way we keep it simpler. Unfortunately, he has pawn takes. I was hoping for the other way. Technically, he has a good bishop. I have a bad bishop. There is other problems. Maybe f4 trying to open the position is interesting. I mean, otherwise, this rook is just stuffed behind this pawn. Even now, it may be, in fact, but we have some tactical breakthroughs with e5. This is just, like, insane. It looks insane for him to trade his e pawn for the a2 pawn. That's just incredibly dangerous for black. Maybe he can castle, though. Try to rip the pawn on a2 and castle. No, he's melting down on d6, though. He tried to do it without capturing on a2. Take on f5. But lose on time. Yeah, he's worse now. I mean, he's seriously worse now. He probably should do this, taking on f5. Just to clear pawn down. But I think the troll had a perfectly playable position. I mean, let's look at f4. Was it even my best move? Apparently I had queen g3. Eliminate dangerous piece. Bishop takes f5 and then castles, and he's very solid there. So, no, apparently we both made a lot of mistakes here. Queen h2 was double question mark. His move was double question mark. What should I have played? So I castled. He played knight e5. Wait a minute. What am I missing here? I missed the tactic. Knight takes e5. Oh, I didn't see 96. Oh my god. I was just like discussing this variation, but I forgot I had mate, you know, smothered mate here. That's a bit of a problem. Okay. It was just too rickety for troll. I should have seen this. It's still the first game of the day, though. Alright. He has to lose immediately there. Well, I was sitting here saying he should play knight e5 or d6. So he should play d6. Obviously, this is a better try. Just strong pointing e5. Apparently I have a sacrifice here, but that looks kind of unclear. Couldn't black even play like rook a8? I mean, for a computer, I guess it's easy, but not one of Troll's better openings. Yeah, go back a couple of moves. I mean, it turns out h3 felt very slow to me. I really should do this, probably. Just go and develop, you know. This structure is really bad for black. But, you know, I don't think it's like a mortal sin not to do bishop takes h6. I have other moves. He should have gone here, probably. Smothered mating himself, but I don't have a rook on d1. Alright, guys, let's move on to the next challenge. e4, knight c3, f4. Yeah, I mean, the Vienna game is tricky. The Vienna game you should answer with like e5, knight f6, and d5 usually. You want to try to like answer that f4 with d5. That's the most dynamic. So Tushar drew against me last night in the simul down a pawn in a Tarash Queen's Gambit. I was kind of low on time. I just feel like playing something hyper modern. Sometimes I play g3 on move 1, but he's copycatting. Was this what happened in our game yesterday? No, that's impossible. He couldn't play the Tarash with g6. Alright, we had somebody else do this. Symmetry. Guys, I'm streaming till 12:30, so plenty of time for some challenges today. He's playing d5. I get really bored with playing the white side of the Fianchetto Grunfeld, so I'm not going to play d4. Something different, maybe. This can always end up there anyway. After c6, yeah, we get this all the time. Drives me nuts. Very solid system for black. Usually I play CD and D4 transposing, but it's so boring. I don't think I can handle this anymore. Now I wish I had played like D3 and did a King's Indian attack instead of this. I see a lot of players playing Queen B3, but I'm not really sure like how you're supposed to continue in these type of positions after Queen B3. So all right, let's do it. It's the best move. I mean, going into the symmetrical Grunfeld. Queen A4 is topical. What? Queen A4 here? Topical? Really? In this position? Are you sure? Well, I don't think you're supposed to do like Queen B3 if you do C takes D5. This is an extremely common position. Anatoly Karpov, special. You have to really have Karpov's patience and positional technique. I've been playing this since I was a kid. Honestly, I can remember some games going back into the 80s when I had this position on the board with white. Scary as that is. But I stopped playing it for a long time. I mean, I've played many different systems against the Grunfeld defense. This is strange. Like, I think I had this on the board a little while ago, a few days ago. Someone else somehow, I had the position with bishop e6. But that's like a move that I've never actually seen played in a tournament game. Bishop f5 is really common. And the main move is what? E6 here. So bishop e6. Really like to reroute my knight through d3 and f4. That would be good. So, okay, I mean, it's still somewhat similar to bishop f5 in the fact that they can maybe try to play. If I take on c6, they'll try to do like queen d7, bishop h3 type of stuff. How about b3? That looks sort of lame. I know bishop f4 looks natural, but I just don't know what the plan is, you know? What is white's plan in this position? I just don't get it. In the normal lines where black plays e6, yeah, isn't this exactly the same game I had somewhere against a different player? I had exactly the same game with someone last week, or very, very recently. It seems like what a computer would do if it didn't have any opening book. It's just like putting the pieces on the most, you know, simple squares without weakening any pawns. And it seems like a good plan. I mean, I think this happened last time and I ended up doing something wrong. What is my plan of development? I was looking at queen a4, queen d2, contesting the c file. If I play queen a4, he has queen b6. If I play queen b3, he has knight a5. Maybe knight a5 is not as good as it looks. And I'm hanging d4. I can't play queen b3 without dropping d4. I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do here? Where is white's advantage? Should black just automatically equalize because they play the symmetrical Grunfeld? They're like down the tempo with the bishop on e6. Oh, this is a problem. Extremely fast player, and he's playing strong moves. No pawn moves, just piece moves. Knight takes c6, but why do I want to trade on c6? I mean, it's like I went knight f3, knight e5 to play knight takes c6. I mean, at least in some lines, if he has to take with a pawn, he has kind of hanging pawns. But in this case, he can just take with a piece. So I've basically moved my knight 3 times to achieve nothing. Right. Well, I mean, what Nakafan just said is the justification of my last move. This d4 is not really hanging. So maybe I have knight a4 here as well. But I'm not certain. Knight a4, queen a5. That's not good for black. But it's different now. Now he has king f8. Knight a4, queen a5, knight takes e6, queen takes d2, knight takes e7 check. But that's okay. Oh, queen takes d4. Knight takes c6, takes d2, takes e7, king f8, bishop takes d2. Well, at least I have a better structure, but I'm not really sold on this. All right. I don't want to drop my d4 pawn anymore. If he tries to trap my bishop on f4, I have ways to solve that. I can play h4 or even knight takes c6 and bishop e5. Yeah, Arsenal fan, it's possible to play h4. I would rather not play that move. I've got very little time though. I get angry when people play too fast, and I feel like I don't have time. But that's life. This is a time control. I have to play a little bit faster. He happens to be a very fluent player in bullet chess. It looks like he's got tons of bullet games. Fluent. Going for the bishop though. In this kind of structure, I don't think the bishop's a big prize. But nevertheless, it might not be a bad move. I have knight a4 again. But is my bishop going to get trapped now? I'm just losing on time. I was talking about this earlier. This could get a little weird. If he tries to trap my bishop, I can do like bishop f3. In other words, f6 bishop f3. Knight d4. What? World Loser style. Actually, World Loser's here. I haven't seen you in a while, man. What's up? He's got the massive time advantage where I have like 18 seconds against 3 minutes. But the 3-second increment is all I need to make moves. There's no need for extra time when I have 3-second increment. Now, he may have made a strategical mistake here. I mean, the d5 pawn looks kind of problematic. Okay, I can't actually win it directly. But he's pretty much tied down to that pawn. And it's very artificial. He can't move his bishop and play e6. No time for commentary, sorry. I don't know. There were a lot of different ways Black could play. He had a lot of time, and I just feel like he chose maybe not the best plan there. But okay, still he hasn't lost anything, and it looks like even d5 is hard to take away. Kind of a weird structure here. I'm gonna like miss tactics because I don't have time and stuff. Time and stuff. I was thinking maybe king h1. Just in case of g5. Knight c7 is a strong maneuver. Rook g1 was just a move I could make, like, not to lose on time, but it doesn't do anything. Okay, it restricts g5. Just kind of biding my time with this. I was kind of hoping he would play that natural move 98. He's just like strategically lost, but it's not that easy to win it. Safety first. Should be a winning ending. I'd rather not fix his pawns. But even if I have to, that's still good for white. Just resigned here. I mean, maybe you can play bishop f6 and try to play, like, you know, be ready to play g5. He's only down, what, a pawn? I guess I'm threatening bishop b7, though. That's the real question. If you do bishop f6, stop. I'm threatening rook a8 check in here. So if he plays bishop f6, bishop f7, b7. Unfortunately, I can't win a pawn directly. I mean, this position is, yeah, it's lost for black. Okay. I got kind of lucky with the tactic there. What's up with bishop e6? This is an actual move. Wow. Rarely played, though. It was played once by Gligorich unsuccessfully in 1972. Not a lot of games, as you can see. I mean, Moreno Trujillo. That must be a new player. Anyways, all right, guys. I got kind of lucky there. I thought he was holding this. Okay, rook g1 is stupid. I was just in time pressure. and here I have apparently also knight a4 previously. Was very strong, which is a normal plan. I don't know where we left book. Bishop e6. It's not really book. I mean, I don't like knight takes c6 that much, although it's commonly played. Rook c8, and then what? Werner Hug, Swiss. Hug, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I think he's like a Swiss IM. Might be a GM. He has one game here from 1991. So apparently it's better to play Queen d2, or not. Bartsai Laszlo. He was really old when he played that game. Pretty old. Nah, I don't know. It's not much for white. So the computer says e3, which is interesting. It makes the most sense structurally. It's just that, like the bishop on f4, you're always thinking, oh my god, I'm going to trap my own bishop somehow. But I guess this is kind of a solid way to continue. I mean, if he tries to do something like in the game, he'll have the same problems with knight d3. So the bishop on e6 has some issues. That's why it's probably better to do, you know, bishop f5. If you're going to move the bishop anywhere, f5 is probably a slightly better square. Can you do this? I was just wondering. But I guess this isn't good. Okay. It's possible, huh? It's just bad for white. Anyway, guys, let's just take some challenges here from the subscribers. What do we have? No subscribers. Where are my subscriber challenges? Alright. Etium 7+3. Guys, tomorrow night I'm going to do a viewer tournament. I haven't decided on the time control. Maybe we can decide before the end of the stream today. Last week we had Chess 960. Sometimes I like to play different stuff. The Alekine's Defense I like to mess around with. I don't have very many tournament games with this opening. Maybe knight g8. It's possible that the knight is just as good on g8 as it is on d5, b6. Carlsen played knight g8. I don't want to do another Chess 960 again. You know, we will, but something normal, I think. So Etienne is only rated 1300, but I thought he played well in some other games. Normally when I face lower rated players or very lower rated players, I like to play hypermodern openings, because I think One of the hardest things to learn is kind of like mastering positions where you have more space, and people tend to overextend themselves rather easily. So I think when you're paired against players who are much lower rated than yourself, it behooves you to use a hyper modern type of approach. Lower rated players, it takes a lot of time to learn how to play, positions where you have space. It isn't like an easy advantage to master. So I've scored much better with hyper modern style play than like anything else. Yeah, there was a guy yesterday in our team tournament. It was funny. We had 12 board team, and the lowest rated player on the other team was rated like 1400 something, and I thought the guy played really well. He played the opening extremely well. Our bottom board was like 1800 something, and theirs was like 1400, and like the guy played the opening. It was like a Grunfeld, a mainline Grunfeld, and he played the opening like the first 15 moves perfectly. And then even the middle game, like he was playing pretty well. He was basically like crushing the 1800, and then somehow misplayed his attack. Like, so he should have like won, but he didn't like find a direct win. So then it was like equal, and in a completely equal endgame where it's like heavy pieces and 5 pawns each, the guy offered our board 12 a draw, and the team captain was like, don't take the draw, because this guy is 1400. He's, not got a lot of experience in endgames, and sure enough, he lost. He actually got mated. It just takes time to master certain things, but 1400 players can play well. I mean, it's very weird for me to talk about it like that when it comes to FIDE ratings, because until like 15 years ago, there were no ratings under 2000 or under 2200 in FIDE. I'm used to talking about it in terms of US chess ratings, though, which is basically the same system. But yeah, I mean, people learn chess online here, and you can never really tell. That was never possible when I was learning. That you run into like a 1400 player who plays like a 2000 or something. I mean, it couldn't happen, basically. Knight c3 is a strangely annoying move. I guess I'll just castle. It reminds me of like a Nimzovich Sicilian or something. If he takes on d5, okay, I have a stronger pawn in the center. I don't want to play knight b6 and move my knight away from the center. I think he should seriously consider playing knight e4 here. He has more space. Again, avoiding exchanges of pieces when you have more space is probably the thematic thing to do. But now it's kind of a boring, more symmetrical situation. You have a question. Do you mind helping me? Indolent lad. Do you calculate at bullet chess? I don't know about them, but I don't really play bullet chess. I just play what looks like bullet chess when I'm down to like no time left. Nothing like reading the chess.com forums, Arsenal fan. That's what I do in my free time. Are there any specific goals you should be achieved? That should be achieved in the middle game, like in the opening, you develop all your minor pieces, get your king to safety? No, I mean, I never thought about it that way. It's an interesting question philosophically. If you want to think about it, I mean, you should get your forces coordinated and mobilized. I mean, you could probably come up with some concrete. This is interesting to try c5 here. You could probably come up with some kind of concrete rules, but I don't think it's really that helpful. The middle game, so middle games are so different. I mean, depending on the opening and the type of position, it's probably more important that you evaluate, just the features of the position. Basically, what I tell people is that most important thing is to be able to evaluate positions. Like if you can tell me who's better in a position and why, that's the clue you need, to figure out how to play said positions. So that's the number one skill you can achieve is to be able to evaluate positions and say who's better here and why. So rather than having any kind of set like middle game, catchphrases, or you should just really learn to evaluate middle game positions. Here, look how solid white is. It's just like a Petrov. I can play bullet, but I don't enjoy it, I just want to learn and play quality chess. That's why I do the stream. Just beating on people in like 1 minute chess wouldn't be satisfying for me, For some people it is, but it doesn't. It just doesn't do it for me. I'd rather learn something I can apply to like slower games. There's also more time to really like try to play quality play in the opening. A little bit risky that he allows me to take on e5. Maybe white would have been safer just taking on d6 there. And then the structure is absolutely symmetrical. Not maybe, I mean definitely. It's safer. This at least gives me something to kind of hope for. Maybe I could lay siege to that pawn. Of course, my pawn is also possibly an issue. That's true too. I was thinking about like bishop c5 to be active, but I eventually decided I need this bishop kind of defensively to keep him off of g5. Why not just win the pawn? Bishop takes f3 and then grab on e5. His rook is defending e5. Did I have a chance to win it straight up? Maybe I did. I did. Alright, I was too busy talking and not really paying attention. If I was paying closer attention, I would have won. Yeah. Alright guys, this was a blunder. I played queen d7. So both of us made very, very bad mistake there. Romelda Fox pointed out, I could have just won the pawn. Bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, d takes e5. Anyway, it shouldn't have been an issue. White should have taken on d6 probably. I got kind of distracted talking and answering questions, and I wasn't really paying attention. Yeah, now it's too late to win the pawn on e5. a4 is a weird move in a way, but it increases the scope of his rook, and maybe it's not so bad. Structurally, I like black. Yeah, that was a bad lapse, though. I mean, I should definitely win a pawn. I would have won it if I had been playing a tournament game or something, but... Okay, on principle, I'm not that materialistic, and I like to develop all my pieces, so I just reflexively play queen d7. Yeah. I guess I was looking at that bishop on f3 and thinking, between his bishop and his queen, he would have something against d5, but his bishop on d2 is in the way. I'm simply winning a pawn, I think. And when I hit e5, I'm threatening his bishop on f3. Yeah, it's just a clean pawn, it looks like. So Etienne should not leave the pawn on e5 for too long there. Queen b3 makes some sense. Knight a5, queen b5, and it's kind of awkward. Like, it's almost like a4 really makes sense there. I have queen takes b5, a takes b5, knight b3, and I'm still not winning anything after rook d1. Bishop e6 is interesting, but not that clear. Queen takes b7 might even be possible. It's pretty weird. What if I played like an intermezzo with bishop takes f3? Like queen b5, bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, knight c4. But I still like white here. Now he has the bishop pair. I've achieved nothing. It's almost like I have to take on b5 and play knight b3. I don't have an advantage of any kind. This a4 really is sort of a surprising move. So he didn't do it finally. He didn't play queen b5, which I thought was the whole point. Unfortunately, my knight is off sides now. You know, he's not perfect, but he seems strong for 1300 again. I had a chance to win a pawn, I missed it, and now I don't even know who's better here. My knight is just like off sides. I guess I should go here. Still not winning anything. I just constantly worry about him playing like knight to g5. That's why I played h6. I'm not sure black is even equal here. White has a sort of space advantage thanks to the e5 pawn. He has some weaknesses, but at the same time, I think that the space advantage afforded by e5 might even be more relevant than the weaknesses. Okay, my knight is decent. It's a good thing I played h6. Otherwise, knight g5 would like flatten me. Maybe not. I guess I could play g6. It's hard to say who's better here. I mean, maybe white's better. He has more space, theoretically. Now he dropped a pawn. But did he? No, he didn't even drop a pawn because he's got rook a1. Queen takes a7. Maybe I can play like g6, bishop g7 and start to pile up on the pawn. He just kind of went nuts. I would not evaluate him as 1300 like under any circumstances. He's just too solid to be 1300, you know. I mean, he's not a master or something, but you know, he's more like 1700. He's just hanging stuff. I mean, maybe he has problems with time, but just essentially too solid a player to be 1300. I mean, chess is not that difficult. You can get to a fairly high level without doing anything special. I think I have this sort of joke lately where I'm saying, like, my greatest strength is my ability not to make blunders. Since I've been playing chess for a long time, I just basically don't hang anything, you know, and that's all you need to do. I mean, I think you can get to a fairly high level, like 2100 probably, by simply not making stupid mistakes. And here, I mean, you've got a guy, okay, he did lose a pawn in the opening and I didn't take it. That was significant. But other than that, you know, I think that the game was just too solid to be 1300. All right. We have anybody who's a subscriber. All right, Arsenal fan is a subscriber to the stream. So I'm going to take his challenge first. He probably said, oh, don't take my challenge first. Tell us about your Blumenfeld Gambit video series. Han Sheen. Why did you bring that up? Just out of curiosity. My Blumenfeld Gambit was something I did for the site called the Chess World, and you know, that's their project now. I'm not, you know, I made a video, but I'm not, like, you know, working for Chess World. I just was like a consultant making some videos for them. So it's just the complete repertoire for playing the black side of the Blumenfeld Gambit. Something I did, like, you know, 6 months ago, and it's a good opening. It's just that it's not a complete repertoire against d4. It's basically half a repertoire against d4. I mean, you need to have something to play against knight c3 as well. So, you know, it's not like an all-inclusive, like, how to play against one d4. It's just how to play the black side of the Blumenfeld Gambit, which is like d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, e6, knight f3. Did I say that right? Sorry, I said it wrong. But anyway, knight f3 type setups with d4, and you're playing c5 and b5. It's an opening that hasn't been very well covered in opening theory. What is Arsenal fan playing the c3 Sicilian? That's kind of weird, actually, because I'm very interested in playing it, but I'm not sure if it's worth the money. I think it would be worth the money. I mean, I made the video series and I put a lot of work into it, so I definitely think it's worth the money. I don't know what they're charging for it right now. They may have changed the price, but it's like 6 hours of videos about just the black side of the Blumenfeld. So, and there's a lot of original ideas. I think it's worth it, definitely. I mean, what would I say? Like, I don't like to do stuff that, you know, if I do it, then I feel like I really put my heart in it. I don't make, you know, a lot of commercial stuff. And I feel like I wouldn't do a project if I didn't, you know, really kind of believe in what I was doing. All right, Arsenal fan, what is going on here with this weird e5, bishop g4? They want me to do another series for Chess World, but like right now I'm so busy that I don't think I'm going to do one, because I just don't want to do something unless I can really put my heart in it. You know, so if you do see something by me once in a while, it's probably pretty good. Not every video I've ever made is great. I also worked for chesslecture.com over the last 10 years a lot, but they're more like, you know, standalone videos. Sometimes there's like series. Can you put the repertoire on Chessable maybe? Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess chess repertoires can't be copyrighted. It's kind of like chess games can't be copyrighted. This is a very strange... I've never worked with Chessable, though. I can check it out. I know there are people that recommend Chessable. I have to find out about it. Bishop b5 is tricky because there's this queen a4 type of thing going on. It's very like anti-positional to play bishop b5, kind of like trading off your good bishop for tricks. I've never seen Arsenal fan play anything like this before. I think I've actually probably taken on f3 unprovoked in this type of position once in a while. But we ought to just play like queen b6, I guess. Do you get a flat rate for making those videos? Well, it depends on who you're making them for. I've worked with different sites with different conditions, but I'm not like the most experienced, you know, maker of chess videos compared to like Andrew Martin or one of these people who makes tons and tons and millions of videos on everything. But I would prefer, yeah, I mean, obviously most people, I guess, are going to prefer to work where you're making videos and you're getting some kind of commission for it, because if it's like a set, you know, a set money, it's not really that worth it. Looks like a strange version of an unaccepted Scandi. Yeah, it's bad for white positionally because he's given up his white squared bishop. This bishop here. He doesn't have a white squared bishop. He has weaknesses on the white squares. He has to be very careful. And I mean, the thing is that he's put his pawns primarily on dark squares, and that's a situation that you generally don't want, you know. Have no white square bishop. Most of your pawns are dark square based, and you'll have a lot of weaknesses on the white squares. I just had to be careful of any kind of like weird queen a4 tricks. I guess I can just trade on f3. I could also try to keep my bishop with something like bishop f5, bishop g6. Where to put my knight on g8 though? That's a bit of an awkward problem, this knight. You know, I guess it's going to f5 in most cases. And if that's the case, then I'm probably giving up that bishop. White should probably play c4. Well, white, you know, would be better off with the d3 c4 type of pawn structure like you see in the Nimzo Indian in the first place. d3 b4, I mean d3 b3, you know, c4. Yes, that's where his pawn should really be in this type of structure. I can in fact play c4 myself, but he can try to undermine my structure with like b3. I'm just kind of thinking about c4 here, in fact. c4, d4, pawn takes pawn, queen takes. I was also thinking of h5. Now, I don't know how to develop. It's not that easy. But I'm probably going to have to take there. Knight a3. Now he can play c4 if he wants to. It's always hard to decide, but I have to keep my development in mind. You know, I'd love to take all the time in the world to play moves like c4. But I'm still sitting here with my king in the center of the board. Yeah, 97, and I don't like g6 as a square that much, but I might have to go there. And maybe I should have put it on g6, in fact. I'm not certain. Here again, we have to think about c4 seriously. I would say black is slightly better here, but it's not that bad for white. We'll drop the knight back to e7 and g6 if necessary. Bishop c5, I was kind of hoping to counter his plan of playing knight e3 and just take with the bishop on e3. Transitioning to like good knight versus bad bishop. But it's not that bad for white, probably. I don't know. Is it good? It's a lot like a Caro-Kann. He can play d4. But I'll just take on d3 now. He can't play it. True. So knight e3, he has some other plans. I had an idea. Oh, that's very weakening, but maybe I'll think twice about playing knight g3, because knight h4, by playing knight h4, essentially all I do is, you know, that's the reaction, right? Our gut reaction is to play knight h4, but all I'm doing is like forcing him to go, you know, where he should go, you know? So don't attack things for the sake of attacking them. That's my argument with knight e7 here. Let's give him a chance to do something wrong, basically. Plus I have h5, and it might be useful to not have the knight on h4. He's obviously weakening his king side. My king can still stay in the center. I almost like instantly played knight h4, and I was like, well, you know, what does it actually, how does that benefit me? You know, just forcing him to make the right move. He still can't play d4. Okay, this move doesn't give me too many options. Fortunately, I'm not losing a piece. If he did rook b1, I would probably sack my queen with like pawn takes c2. That looked promising. I actually glanced at that. But now I don't really understand what's going on. He's got bishop a3. I think he's just speculating here. If you saw the simul game yesterday where he was down like a piece and drew me with perpetual, it was definitely not calculated. You know, if you compare Arsenal fan to like the last player who was 1300, Arsenal is like a much more willing to take risks, not quite as solid. Okay, I saw this, and I guess we're just taking, I never want him to play bishop takes c5, so we're just taking on a3. The point is he has to take with the knight, which is clumsy. Yes, he's starting to win my queen, but that's okay. His knight is on a bad square. So at the end of the day, he doesn't have a whole lot of play for the sacrificed wing gambit here. But I probably have to castle now, kingside. It's just a straight up wing gambit Sicilian. I have f6 possibly. It's a double-edged move. It's not forced either. I could just try to liquidate stuff on the queen side. But whatever. It's like he's trying to find the most combative possible move. But I feel like the most important factor here is his king safety. Yeah, again, he like tries to find Zwitch and Zug moves, it looks like. But I think my play on the F file is pretty significant, and I'm still up at least one pawn, maybe two. Yeah, I mean, this is winning for me. I need to break his king. King's side. He is an impressively fast player for his rating. It's very deceptive that he's 1600 in bullet, because he seems legitimately stronger. I had a really bad hallucination there that I was winning immediately. And I basically screwed this up. I mean, it's very close to lost for me. His play with no time is enormous. Just amazing move, Queen G3. I thought I was lost. I had a very bad hallucination that made me lose on time. I thought I had Rook H5. I thought he had Knight F6 here. That's why I flagged. You know, pawn takes G6, Queen G8. It's not even mate. So, oh well. Another swindle. No, but this is the move that I expected. Queen here. According to Stockfish, Queen G3 is actually the best move. That's hard to find with no time left. But I failed to see knight f4 in time. This wasn't a great game. Both sides made a lot of mistakes. But you know, he's surprisingly fast for someone who's like 1600 in bullet. All right. We got no other subscriber challengers, so I'll just take, you know, some more of the other challengers. Yeah, I had to be very careful. I thought I didn't see my knight was protecting f6. I thought I was walking into a brilliancy, you know, knight f6 check. But he doesn't have anything there. That's sort of sad. You know, the only thing you have to do is just make it look like you know what you're doing. He's good at basically just bluffing. I mean, it looked active. Almost white had something. Enough to make me lose on time. It's not a good opening for you, you know, ever to do e5, basically. You're always supposed to take on d5 in the c3 Sicilian. I think just coffee house players, you know, who don't know any opening theory play like you did in that game with e5. I mean, it's just never good. You can get away with it, but it's just like, if you want to be slightly worse, if you want to be slightly better, you play e takes d5. If you want to be slightly worse, you play e5. That's just the way it is. It's not a real variation. I mean, you won't find more than a handful of grandmasters who would ever play like e5 in the c3 Sicilian. The French advance is different, you know, but that's the French. Black plays e6. It's a totally different opening. Sometimes in the e6 variations, you can do like e5 with white, but I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, I didn't want to like get embarrassingly mated. That's why I lost on time. I thought he had knight f6. Not used to being in time pressure. You know, usually in the games I have enough time. But I haven't played blitz at all like in the last week. I mean, I'm playing like 7+3, but I haven't played much. Not in the last week, but in the last 4 or 5 days. I haven't played much 5-0. And when I don't play enough, like sudden death, I kind of forget how to do it fast enough. But that's why I need the increment to play with. Are you upset when you play coffeehouse players who don't know theory? No, why would I be upset about it? I mean, it's just like, you know, not as satisfying as maybe getting to learn you know, something that would be relevant. You know, I'd really like my time to go to learning some kind of opening variation that I could use in a real game at some point. So I would say disappointed would be a better word than upset. You know, it's disappointing that I can't get to play, you know, some kind of openings that might come up in a tournament game where I could actually benefit from it. You know, that's the biggest problem with playing online. Okay, if you play like Masters and stuff, you'll usually encounter a fairly high level of opening theory. I don't know, Black's just sacrificing a pawn here. This is very strange. You could imagine that Black gets some kind of microscopic compensation, but I can't imagine doing this like... I can't imagine White doing this, Black doing this on purpose, you know? He's actually sacrificing a pawn, I mean, in a position where I guess... Okay, he's already got problems. I mean, what's the alternative? To play d6? If you do d6... I mean, it's a better move. I think that Black can also play queen b6. I've actually had this position come up on a very rare occasion here. But yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, you know, I want to play something that I can put to use later on. And if I play these random positions that I'll never get to play against anybody in a real game, I'm kind of disappointed. That's the other reason why I don't subscribe to playing bullet chess, you know. The openings are really irrelevant. Like, people do like e4, I mean, like, let's say d4, e5 is a great bullet opening. We're just losing a pawn for nothing on move 1. Probably one of the best bullet openings there is. Grandmasters who do go like e4, d6, e5, losing a pawn to just try to hope people like pre-move knight f6. You know, I mean, this is not chess. Entertaining, yes, but useful not. All right. I want to make sure all my pawns stay protected. The main one, well, these two can be weak. If I put my one bishop on f3, right now I'm concerned about bishop f6 and my other bishop, his bishop brother. How am I going to protect b2? So probably rook d1, rook a d1, and rook d2. He can't play bishop g4 without dropping b7. Arsenal fan, I mean, I know you have this hang up about opening theory, but you're going to get, you know, you're going to get to the point where you're going to start losing games because you don't know any opening theory. If you go to tournaments, if you want to just play in, you know, informal games with your friends, it's another story. But, you know, there's nobody is going to argue. I don't know why you have that. You hate opening so much. It doesn't even have to be memorization, but you just have to like apply like principles at least. You know, if you know that e5 is a bad move, you can play simpler systems too. You don't have to. Nobody has to memorize 25 moves to play the opening correctly. That's why people are playing the London system so much. You know, there's only a few people in the world who know like that kind of opening theory, and is it even relevant? Like, for a 2700 player, it's not necessary to know like 25 moves of theory in some openings, but not even for all of them. I mean, if you look at like some of them, you know, Jabava plays garbage openings on purpose, you know. Although I think he would probably go a little further if he didn't do that. Rook d8. I don't think it's important to memorize openings. I think the important thing is to understand them, you know. It's different. You don't have to think of it as memorization. It doesn't have to be like that. I mean, you have to understand the ideas and then be able to find the right moves. But there's a certain mathematical truth in chess, you know, and that's where this opening theory comes from. It's not just made up, you know. They're like factual best moves. I mean, they just are, you know, scientifically proven to be the best move. You can't like deny that. That's why Fischer wanted to encourage people to play Fischer random chess. But I think anyway, like, chess will probably be dead competitively in like 50 years, regardless. I had bishop takes f7 check. Oh, yeah. I'm talking too much. There is the downside that it would be an opposite colored bishop endgame there, but it's probably not enough to compensate for being 2 pawns down. Yeah, I should have just played bishop takes f7. Got too into the discussion here. Like last game, I could have won a pawn, or 2 games ago. A lot of a lot of people commenting in the chat today. Well, chess won't be dead, my friend. I don't think chess will ever be completely dead, but I think that tournament chess as we know it will be dead. You know, I mean, I'm just guessing 50 years. You know, however long it takes till the point where people start to have, like, you know, computer chips implanted in their brains and stuff. You can always play chess with your friends and enjoy that, you know. But as far as like tournament chess, where, you know, we see the top players in the world playing in tournaments with sponsors, and I think that it's just a matter of time. We all become like, you know, the future is like artificial intelligence and stuff. I mean, it's hard to believe for me that that's not going to destroy competitive chess. It's just, it's a matter of time. You know, if it's not 50 years, then it's 75 years. But I mean, you have to admit that will kill chess as a human competitive sport. You can still play with your friends, but it won't be the same. It'll be like, you know, Blade Runner or something. I mean, maybe opening theory won't even expire by that time, but you know, it'll be like people will just be like, you know, getting the moves like from some computer chip in their brain. I mean, you can't have tournaments anymore when it reaches that point. That'll be it. The computers are already much better than humans. It's not even a question. It's not even interesting. I don't think that Google really cares about AlphaZero playing chess at all. It's just not interesting. They just wanted some publicity talking about, you know, AlphaZero playing against Stockfish or whatever, but chess is a beaten game as far as computers versus humans. Well, yeah, I mean, it'll become like watching, yeah, sports will be like watching robots fight each other, you know. That's basically, I guess. But that's easier to police, like if people have robotic legs or not, you know, but okay, I guess the technology will exist to like, you know, detect whether or not people have computer chips implanted in their brains or not. I don't know. It just seems like it's going to be too hard. I won't be here in 50 years, hopefully. Maybe. I'll be really old. Battle bots. Chess battle bots. People are watching, watching the computer chess championships. But there are people that love spectating chess, and there's people who love playing chess, and the two don't always, you know, mix together. This was a pretty bad opening for black. I mean, just exchanging knights on d4, knight takes d4. This is kind of a classical mistake in so many openings. You bring out my queen to the center powerfully. Still, it's not that easy to convert. On principle, I don't like putting my king on a white square. I guess because his bishop's on a white square, but we can probably play like rook b6 and rook d6 and rook b6. Arsenal fan, now it's not on anymore. Your idea of playing bishop g2. I want to fix his pawns on white squares where they can be targeted. Technically, this isn't really ideal for me to have my own pawn on a white square on h5. But we just have too much space, and the extra pawn Yeah, definitely. You know, the Alpha Zero guys are interested in the PR element. They made a huge sensation with this little release about playing, you know, stockfish in chess, and it wasn't even like clear under what kind of controlled conditions they played it. You know, it wasn't like a really scientific sort of thing. And they got a lot of PR from that for free. Every chess player is excited about it. I think probably trading one set of rooks here will make things a little easier for me. But that pawn on a6 should really be the decisive weakness. He can't play rook a8. Man, good defense though. And bishop c4. I guess I should play a4 there, but he has bishop b3. I could have calculated rook c8 probably. That still doesn't work though. What a good defender he is, you know. Practical player who doesn't know the opening at all. Kind of like Arsenal fan was talking about. No opening theory, but on practical play, he's quite reliable. Now we get a4. Actually, f7 is hanging, but he has tactics on that. So he just lost on time. I mean, he's still hanging on, but this is a huge weakness on a6. I think it's decisive. I'm going to actually play a5. That pawn is only 3 squares from queening, and it's a matter of time until a6 falls on a white square, so white should be winning. Alright, not too many of our subscribers are on. We've got tons of challenges from other guys, though. The robot apocalypse is coming. Well, yeah, I mean, I just don't see human chess surviving, you know. I don't mean to be like the naysayer of doom or anything. I thought I was pretty optimistic with the 50-year assessment. Like, 50 years of tournament chess still existing isn't bad. It will evolve into something else. It's an old game. VBN. I mean, think about it. Like, it's amazing how long chess has really existed, and in its unchanged form. The accelerated dragon. Accelerated. It's the hyper accelerated. Okay, so f3 is playing as if black's playing a normal dragon, I guess. There's some traps here that white can fall for. Once Luke McShane fell into one against me when he was a kid. We're obviously threatening d5 in one move, which would be like an improved thing. Right, so this is bishop c4, queen b6. I guess this was my game with McShane that I was just talking about, although bishop b3, you know what? It's a different variation. No, that was a different trap he fell for, something else. This is the draw variation. It's like Speaking of memorizing 20 moves, it's like a very forced line that results in a position that's basically equal. I don't think that, you know, any grandmasters are intentionally playing this, but VBN just blundered. We just take here on e3 check. There he has to play knight takes e4. Sorry, knight to d5. Knight d5, queen a5 check. There's even one time I lost the game in that position. Bishop takes c3 check, b takes c, queen takes check, we take everything. It's an everything must go sale. We're basically winning a rook. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is actually a good way to play if you want to draw with a master or something. It's awkward though. I don't know what alternatives Black really has. If I play d6, I transpose into a normal dragon, so it's kind of problematic. If I want to play for a win, I have to transpose to the normal dragon, which I don't normally play. This, would you say you're relatively better at blitz or classical? I don't think I have a real sort of, I don't think so. I think I'm just kind of like the same. I think I'm about the right strength in blitz and classical time controls. I don't have very many rapid games, and I don't have any official blitz games, but you know, I think I'm like 2400 across the board, basically. I don't really specialize in one or the other, though lately I haven't played as much blitz as usual. Because of streaming, I don't get to play as much 5-0 and then like sudden death blitz as I would like, and so I'm slower than usual. I think that the streaming and doing these like 6-3 games might have even hurt my tournament game because I'm getting into time pressure too much. Like that other game I lost against Arsenal fan, you know, I wouldn't normally like lose on time, but I'm kind of getting addicted to this time pressure, and I think it's kind of a result, you know, a result of doing these 6+3, 7+3 games over the last 2 years, and I need to not let that infect my tournament. Not let that infect my tournament games. And this is something that took me a while to figure out. But prior to 2 years ago, I never ever used increment and blitz. Just a tool I employ to try to make the streams more interesting. You know, so I have some. I can basically chill and just kind of talk about the games without, you know, stressing and playing, you know, too fast where nobody can understand what's going on. I mean, it's not that instructive, I think, when it's like that. I guess then I have had like a million games in these type of positions now, and Black's pretty solid. 2200 is FM? No. You know, in the old days, we had to walk uphill twice every day, you know, going to school and back. But seriously, FIDE Master was harder to get because you had to be like 2300 for 27 games, and I think that's a really good idea for the title, to not be like people just kind of got a fluke result, and there's a lot of people who have kind of fluky results for their early first ratings and stuff who get the FIDE Master title, then they drop down to like 2100, and they're basically not FIDE Masters, but they had a fluky result like for the first couple tournaments or something, and now they have this FIDE Master title that they didn't deserve for like the rest of their life. But that's good for FIDE because they have more money from every time someone gets like the FIDE Master title. But seriously, originally FIDE Masters were relatively strong players who were not IMs, but like, you know, kind of like lifetime around 2300-ish or higher players, and now it's become kind of degenerated. Candidate Master is what they call someone who reaches 2200, and FIDE Master is for people who reach 2300. But I really, you know, I kind of miss the old days when FIDE masters were actually guaranteed to be strong. You know, you've got some FIDE masters who are like 2,500 sometimes. They didn't get the GM title yet or something. But for the most part. FIDE has been shady for as long as I can remember. Before the current president, you know, there was like the Filipino Campamanes, who was probably not as shady as Ilumjinab, but he's also very shady. It's worse than the FIFA. Yeah. But I mean, chess just isn't, you know, it's just not as interesting to people to maybe get involved with, you know, organizing chess as like major, you know, physical sports. I'm going to play Queen A5 here, kind of Peart style. We can play maybe B5, B4. But as in like some lines of the Peart, you have to be careful when you do like B5. White will play A3. I think there was a game in Isle of Man in the last round like 2 years ago, something like this, between one very strong Arabic player, some 2,600, I can't remember who it was, and John Wallace. And I am like around the same rating as me. I remember Wallace was like white. The dude tried to do what I'm doing, but I think he just went really caveman, like B5, knight BD7, knight B6 or something like that. King B1 is a very safe move. I have to watch for tactics. I don't see that working though. And the other thing is like bishop F5 is interesting, but after G4 I don't have an answer. I don't think that, you know, people should be, any titles should be jokes, you know. I mean, we're all like weak relative to someone, you know. And people should get credit. Just achieving, you know, the lowest titles is a credible achievement. Yes, I mean, Candidate Master is nothing but next to GM, but still, it's an achievement. I mean, they've put a lot of work into that. I think it encourages people to play. It's a good thing in general. I just think, like, you know, they undermined some of the, particularly FIDE Master was undermined by this not 27 games, and International Master and Grandmaster, they've kind of like softened the requirements in a lot of things. Like, I don't want to single out like Andrew Tang, but he has like a norm from a tournament where nobody in the tournament was like over 2250 and there were no title players. I mean, a lot of these sort of like junior tournaments are qualified as like GM norm results. I mean, that's kind of crazy. The requirements for GM and IM norms used to be a lot more strict than they are now. I mean, I understand that it's good to get more people involved, but I feel like the old titles should at least stay the way they were, not get easier to get them. Well, it's interesting, Ben Techers, because as far as I know, like, the terminology of Candidate Master, like, kind of comes from, I thought it came from Russia. You know, it was, yeah, I mean, okay. Candidate Master in like the old school, like, Soviet system was an extremely strong player. I mean, a relatively strong player. Kind of like FIDE Master would be, you know, at least FIDE Master. I think that's where they got the name from, you know. In the Soviet system, these Candidate Masters, Master was really hard to attain in the Soviet system. So there became this, like, you know, second level of like candidate master. I mean, it's all relative, but like a Soviet candidate master was extremely strong. Probably like, you know, a little bit below I am. A strong FIDE master, basically. But in a lot of places they've sort of bastardized the name. Like US Chess Federation started using candidate master to refer to anyone who was like 2000. I mean, you know, that's a lot different. Like in one continent it's basically meaning you're like 2300, and another place it means you're like 2000. So I don't know what I'm doing here. Kind of got a little distracted. There's been so much discussion in the stream today. My old friends who grew up in the Soviet Union, you know, they would like refer to candidate masters with like a lot of reverence. I mean, that was like very difficult to achieve, you know. Way stronger than like a national master in US ratings. But I guess you can use it to describe anything you want, you know. There is the unofficial title of Super GM. Then we have to make like Super GM. I just don't think the titles, you know, the established titles need to get any easier to get. There are already like more tournaments than there ever were. There are more possibilities than there ever were for people to get these titles. FIDE they don't need to make it any easier. We've played a lot of games with Ayesta in these type of positions now. It's getting to the point where he's getting too tough. I think I want to play c5. I was thinking like maybe rook d8, rook c8, and c5, trying to get some counterplay. The b5, b4 thing just doesn't seem relevant. Knight takes d5 he has now. Queen takes d2, knight takes f6, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6. Knight takes d5, queen takes d2. Okay, I have pawn takes f6. I'm in time pressure all the time. But we've had way more conversation today than typically I have when I'm playing here. Or maybe I don't know why, I'm just paying attention to it more. But it seems like a lot of new people asking questions, which I don't always get. He did this tactic anyway. I guess they had plenty of time there, but he basically dropped a piece. He's not listening to the stream, one can tell, but take your time. Yeah, we're gonna need like 2,900 player titles. Yeah, he's just like lost concentration. But I mean, what's really going on? I think he played the opening well, and there on c5 he's slightly better. But he played this in an ultra solid style. A lot of people who play this, whatever you want to call it, system, play like super aggressively, like throwing the kingside pawns and stuff. And Ayesta has learned to play this in a kind of controlled fashion. But I kind of thought here I'm a tiny bit worse, probably. Something like bishop d4. It's hard to generate counterplay. I don't know where we left book. h3 is pretty rare. Okay, so this is slow. Mark Hebden, the English chess grandmaster, has played this type of system for years, but Mark typically, doesn't put the queen on d2. He'll instead do stuff like, e3, bishop e2, and h4, h5, named after the English master Barry. He calls it the Barry attack. That's a little different than queen d2. Queen d2 is Shereshevsky discusses this. I think it was Shereshevsky in the Soviet Chess Conveyor. Recommended it to a lot of his students. It's just a solid kind of anti-Grunfeld system. But, h3 isn't really necessary for white here. Apparently I can play knight to e4 to equalize, but it's not a very, exciting continuation that just basically trades pieces for something like knight takes, pawn takes, knight e5. This isn't very exciting. All right, so many challenges. Plukro, I don't know if you're even a subscriber anymore. We'll find out if Plukro is a subscriber. If so, I'll take his challenge. This is don't read this 5+3. I'm just taking the challenges like in the order I got them. If Plukro is a subscriber, we'll play him next. We're playing Don't Read This. I didn't realize I had so many games with Don't Read This. Okay, you are a subscriber. Alright, we haven't seen you too much lately. I wish you could hang out with us more. I enjoy our games in the French defense particularly, although it's always been kind of tough. And also, so you're not playing the French that much, are you? It's been a while since we played. Plukro plays different stuff. Bishop g2. Bishop g4. But maybe I'm confusing our games with my games with Muleskinner, because Muleskinner hasn't been here and he plays the French all the time. Actually, Plukro just plays different stuff. He doesn't play necessarily just French defense. I started thinking about Muleskinner's games. That's always French defense. Yeah. No, he's just French. He doesn't always play the French. But I miss Muleskinner, and Queen c7 is kind of a weird square here. Queen c7 is a bad square, but not that bad. If I can get a rook to the c file, I can exploit the queen along the c line. I can play knight e5 here. He can't take it because he loses b7. But I'm not sure that's such a good move for me, actually. Better just to develop my pieces. Yeah, Plukro, sorry, you don't play the French. But you don't really have a set repertoire. When I started saying I haven't seen you in a while, I started thinking about Muleskinner and those French games he plays against me. He's been missing about the same amount of time that you have. Bishop d6 is a good move because it stops bishop f4. This looks awkward for black, but I don't really see how to exploit it. Try to put some pressure on the center. I'm gonna have to watch for this hitting my queen. Maybe bishop e3 and then rook c1, take on the d file. It's a London system reversed. Well, usually Plukro play crazy games against me. Now this is awkward. I probably should exchange on d5 first. White doesn't have too much though. I've basically kind of given up on playing these lines with queen b3 for the most part. But not because of queen c7, because of queen b6. And trading queens and just like boring endgames and stuff. There should be a way to exploit queen on c7 to my advantage, but I didn't manage to pull it off. Here he can play bishop takes f3. I mean, bishop c5 is just a tempo loss. I don't have to even take it. I mean, I guess I could let him take on e3. I can also play d4. I can also play bishop f4. So we have like a ton of moves. Though bishop f4 e5 is kind of complicated. Maybe just good for black. Playing the dragon a lot, I don't mind, like, you know, having doubled pawns on e3 sometimes. But I think here it's probably not the best. You just play Romanician style and try to stop him from castling. And it gains a tempo. The hippo is a good opening, and it's also a very dangerous animal. The elephant gambit you played against me, I do remember that, Plucro. A lot of players on today for a Monday. It's pretty crazy. I'm just seeing all kinds of people in the chat and amazed. Post Super Bowl stream. Very lively. Yeah, this was just totally a hasty move. Best is e takes d, I guess. And even knight takes d5 isn't that bad for black, but this just looks like he's almost lost by force. Yeah, fortunately he can't play queen c5 without losing an exchange. So I've only won a couple of games on sort of stupid blunders here today. I didn't get to play any really good games. I lost on time against Arsenal fan in a winning position. I've won some games on stupid mistakes, but we haven't gotten to play a really nice game. But as I said, you know, that's all it takes to get to like 2200. Just don't make stupid mistakes. Knight d6, this is winning the exchange at least. But if you look at the opening, contrary to what Arsenal fan says, you don't have to memorize 25 moves of theory to be a good opening player. You know, 10 or moves. I think that if you could just know every opening 10 moves deep, that's enough. You know, you just basically don't want to make mistakes, you know, fundamental mistakes in the first 10 moves. After queen b3, you notice here there's 72 games with queen b6 and only 4 with queen c7. I've had b6 a few times, and I think that somebody played that on Sunday against me in the simultaneous. It's a really bad move. But even that, like, I can't refute it outright. It just weakens black's position. So queen c7 shouldn't be that bad. It's even played by two or three strong players. Conrad Holt played it, but he was very young. Anish Giri and Halifman. You know, I wondered what would make a Halifman or Giri play this move. They just didn't want to trade queens. And queen b6 is the only other move. So d3. Nobody played d3. Everyone played d4. That's interesting. Knight c3 might be a good move too. Not committing yourself to a structure. Alright. Plucro challenged me to chess 960, so we don't have to worry about his French defense. Or lack thereof. We played one chess 960 already today against Troll, but I feel much more awake now. The first game was chess 960, and I just usually don't have my bearings at 10 o'clock in the morning when I start playing. Guys, we have time for at least one more challenge. We'll see how the time goes. I've got to finish at 12:30. I mean, I think you've got to memorize a certain amount of moves, but it doesn't have to be exaggerated, you know? That's one of those questions that people ask you at a party, like when you tell them, oh, what do you do? I'm a chess player. Oh, you must memorize you must have to memorize a lot of stuff. And that's another thing. That, or like you must be really good at math. That's the other thing. I'm like, no, I suck at math. I always hated, I hated math. I failed my like university math class. I just blundered my h2 pawn. It doesn't matter. That's a good sack probably. That's not a fatal problem at all. I think that I'm getting really decent compensation here, to be honest. Black is losing a lot of time in development grabbing this pawn, and his queen is nearly trapped. I mean, I'm threatening to trap it right away. Yes, b6 he has. b6 restricts me, so I don't have, rook h1, unfortunately. And I can't play f3, and e4 is really weakening, but maybe my best move. The thing is that this is under attack by my queen. I'd rather not block it. I think e3 with the idea of bishop f3 neutralizing his bishop on a8, and I think that white has good compensation. I was sleeping, but this is a very dangerous pawn grab, principally. Bishop f3 nearly wins by force. Oh, I'm just having hallucination. Oh, man. Alright, I take it back. It doesn't almost win by force. But anyway, it's probably not that bad. Okay, win by force and not that bad are very different concepts. I still think that I have pretty good compensation here. He doesn't have a lot of development. His queen is in danger. I'm almost completely developed. No, rook g2 is no good. I have to go here. Blue-Crow is a relatively strong player. He's beaten me. I mean, this doesn't show all our games. I have a really good score in the last 20, but I mean, he won some games against me. He's got 8.5. Probably looks like a bad score, but if you consider that most of those games were played in like blitz, where he's 500 rating points lower than me or more, the score isn't so bad. I think the point, this what did you say? Yeah, I'm really good at everything. I just, don't like these, like, sort of, how to explain it, prejudices. Yeah, I can talk. Prejudices about chess, all chess players are like math nerds. I kind of like the king going over to d1. But anyway, okay, he's got a shot in the dark with knight f4 check. That is not really a big deal. I need to, however, mobilize and try to create some threats. Knight d3 looks good. But it's not about stopping knight f4. I'm just developing a piece. I think that this might be an idea. Knight h5 and then the other knight to f4. When we're really like breaking through against g7. And all of our pieces are working here. And I just don't think he has any threats. He has maybe like knight f5, but again my king can hide on d1. This looks like some kind of sneaky try. His queen is virtually trapped. I mean, doesn't this just look good? All of our pieces are in play. Unfortunately, we don't have any intermezzo on g7. I wanted to do an intermezzo. Intermezzo. That queen looks unhealthy. This is one of those positions where you gotta just be like, there's gotta be something here for me. I mean, but I don't want to trade queens particularly. However, even in that instance, I have pretty good play. I mean, queen takes, knight h5. That doesn't appeal. Queen b2 avoids the exchange of queens. Feels like we should have a winning tactic though, but it's not so easy. Knight d5. Yeah, he's gonna like just kind of survive here for a while, and then it'll come down to a time scramble. I have better king, very strong control of the center, better development, but I'm down a pawn. No forced win. Queen b2, keeping the queens on. All right, let's try it. Whoa, the surprise. Surprise! Yeah, that's pretty irritating. Now his king is relatively safe for the time being. But now I have the better pawn structure, all one island against two. And I don't see any threats for black. e5 is bad positionally. He doesn't have any tactics. I didn't really want to give him the g file though, so I'll have to do this. I just hope he doesn't have any secret tactics, like knight takes c4, something weird like that, for example. Fortunately, I can play knight to d5. Ooh, that's pretty nasty. So Blue Crow also, you know, falling victim to the moving too fast. Okay, he can get a rook, pawn, and knight for the queen. But it looks like he's got really bad coordination there, and my king is super safe. I don't think that's good. So, playing a little too hasty. I could really make a bad joke about Arsenal fan now, but I refrain from these cheap personal jokes just because you beat me 2 games in a row. Alright guys, 15 minutes left. I have time for one more game after this. Only stupid names left. How many accounts have you gone through to get to that name? He doesn't really have many games, but he's got about 100. Oh, yeah, okay, you can play invisible. Yeah, I like that, actually. I would need to practice if I start doing that, you know. Maybe Andrew Tang has done that. I never really watch his streams, but mostly he's doing bullet chess. But I would imagine doing blindfold would be cool. I haven't played much blindfold in like 20 years. It's a lot of hard work, and I think that the benefits, aren't that huge for, compared to other things you could do with your time to improve your game. Knight takes check. How about mate? Can we get a mate? Do I hear mate? No mate. That's what I was afraid of. Alright, but he doesn't have any play here. It just kind of looks like maybe some cheapos with the queen and bishop. He's going with the H pawn. Now I have a threat. Do I have a threat? No threats. The H pawn isn't fast enough if my king can stop it. King can come back to f1 if I can trade the queens and all. So I'm threatening rook takes d7 check, I guess. Whoa. It's like an optical illusion. Taking me a while to get organized here. I think he had like rook f8 there. Did he have rook f8? I must have missed the mate by now. I don't even see like a forced win. But this is probably not bad though. This would qualify. Always mate with the smallest denomination of material. Yeah, that was pretty weird. I'm curious about the opening though, Plucro. What does the computer say about queen takes h2? So there's games here. Yeah, this is better for white. There's a couple of games here on lichess. It's actually dangerous to take the pawn. I'm not surprised. It's too risky. Last game for today, guys. I saw 25 moves ahead. No, I didn't even see h2 was hanging, but I do know once I get into a position, I can evaluate it. I was like, oh shit, I'm lucky that I'm better here. That's basically all I know. There are certain starting positions in chess 960 obviously where that happens, but they're not that common. Only stupid names left. Thank you for challenging me to a casual game. Sometimes they try to sneak in the rated games when I'm not paying attention and really like tired at the end of the stream. It was interesting though. I mean, if we look at the game, I'm sure that we'll find that at some point you had adequate play. I I didn't play all that convincingly. D3 is a really quiet, safe kind of move. E3 I see a lot. Then I can take on C3. This move is sort of an anti-me variation because it kills some of my ideas. I'm going to play this. Double fianchetto. Pretty rare system for black. I've been kind of thinking about stopping to play discontinuing, let's say, the symmetrical English with black because it's not very dynamic. If you want to win with the black pieces against the English opening, yeah, probably best to play like c4, e5 and immediately get a imbalanced structure. But anyway, Blue Crow, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for not playing the French defense. What am I doing here? I'm a little concerned about this. Yeah. Larsonian setup for black. I'm not sure. You know, d4 there looks kind of critical. He's not taking his opportunity to play d4. Maybe I should play knight h6 and knight e4, or sorry, knight f5 to control d4, but it's slow now. My main idea is to play knight a5 if he plays d4 to try to get counterplay against the c4 pawn. Now maybe e6 and reverting back to kind of a normal structure. Not really sure what I should do here. I mean, I can always play like knight a5, but that looks bad. At this juncture, sometimes I'll do weird stuff like knight e5 to trade. The bishop's on the long diagonal. You could try something crazy like h5 in this particular position. Looks interesting, going caveman. Because I'm not castled and he is, we can try to create some imbalance. Sometimes that's like the best way to punish people for castling early. There are not, you know, a lot of players who play this type of way. For black, let's say like not castling and playing h5, h4. It's kind of primitive. A few people come to mind that I've seen do it like a lot. Grandmaster Sabalo from Croatia, who's a dragon player. He's a senior now, but I mean he was a really good Sicilian dragon player. I've seen him do this kind of stuff with black, and Arthur Kogan, a very creative grandmaster who lives in, I guess he lives in France or Spain now. He won so many games by just like not castling automatically against people and trying to just checkmate them in a very primitive way. But here now, the knight e5 I'm concerned about. It's a bit awkward, but maybe it's okay. My knight has only one square at g4 temporarily. So far, he's pretty strong for 1500, although this is a new account. I do ask people to have like 100 games. But I figure 100. He doesn't want to troll me. So, guys, we'll be back tomorrow night. Let's do like 7+2, like this kind of rapid tournament tomorrow night here on lichess. We'll make it a rapid tournament. 7+2 casual, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Last week we did chess 960, but I don't want to do that like 2 weeks in a row. I'm trying to change it up. No, I'm not going to play anybody else. Knight d5 doesn't contribute anything to White's position here. Maybe there's a benefit in it though. Like he might make me block my queen by playing e6. So I can see that. That is a defensive point. But I think that black is already clearly better. I guess I need to kick him out. He's going to have a lot of weaknesses around the king side. Knight f3 check looks really brutalish here. This is just like already a winning position for black. So it just illustrates like how easy it is for white to, you know, play normal moves, but lose their way, you know, if they play routinely. He basically has to take and give up that defender. Yeah, Nabil, we're not going to play anymore. I'm going to close it down. I got to go. It's 12:30. But this is a point that I've been working on in a recent video series I started making for chesslecture.com. The idea is to create imbalance to win, and one way you can do that a lot of people don't think about, some people do obviously, is to not commit to castling too early and actually, you know, exploit the other guy's commitment to castling early. So here is pretty much a textbook example of that kind of thing happening, you know. And as I mentioned, those guys like Sabalo and Arthur Kogan, you know, grandmasters typically play relatively, you know, straightforward, correct chess. Playing h5, h4 without castling is considered by many to be kind of coffee house and primitive, but oftentimes it's justified, you know. So knowing the difference between when it's justified or when it's just like a trashy, you know, kind of caveman-like way of playing chess, there's a lot of subtlety involved in that, you know. And here, I thought it was a controlled situation, like playing basically h5 in this position. Here on move 10, it's a risk that's worth taking, basically. Okay, guys, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night with the 7+2 viewer stream. Sorry, we're going to be doing tournament. So viewer tournament 7+2 casual rapid chess tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Thanks, guys, for watching and playing, and I will see you then tomorrow night. Thanks to everyone who subscribed, and thank you, Soltigo, for moderating. I hope you guys learned something. It was fun, a lot of chat today, a lot of new people like chatting in the stream. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. We will we'll also thank you for checking out the YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. I do upload the streams over there permanently, so if you want to see an old stream, you can check it out, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Also, please donate on PayPal to support the stream on my YouTube channel. You can click the link in Twitch or over there on YouTube for PayPal donations. Thanks, everybody. And once again, I'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for a 7+2 viewer rapid tournament. Great, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.